If you'd like to hear the way that I taught myself to read playing cards in no time, stick around. Hey guys, thanks for showing up. So, playing cards. These suckers are super cool. I have found that my deck of playing cards, there is nothing as straightforward as playing cards. They don't give a whole lot of fluff. If I want to know what's going to happen, it lays it out. If I want to know what to do, it lays it out step by step by step. Very plain and straightforward, and I love that about my playing cards. But before I could get to that point, I had to learn them. I had to memorize them, which is the most impossible thing for me. I have a terrible memory. If you think that it's too hard, no, it's not. It's not. Your memory's fine. You can figure it out. Just try and do what I did before you go and say that you can't do it. Right? So the first thing that you have to do is you have to find a language. What we're doing when we're divining is we are bridging the gap between us and this special being that we have, right? We are trying to talk to whatever is connecting to this deck or the deck itself, depending on how you look at it. The problem is, if that being is speaking to you in French and you don't know French, it won't help anything. It can speak all day long and it could tell you the next 100 years. If it's speaking French and you don't know French, there's nothing you can do. So what you're trying to do is learn a language so that it has something to speak back to you in. What I did was started collecting languages. I went to a YouTube video, I went to a PDF, I went to a web page, I went to all these different sources, and I gathered their language and I tried to match it up with what I saw before. The next step was to try and find one that worked because I didn't know which one was right. Each one of them was kind of similar, but they weren't the same and they weren't, I don't know. Each day I would do a couple readings with each language, right? I would literally do it like when you first start doing tarot cards and you have like a little white book and you would throw a couple cards, read all the definitions, and each day I would use a different language, right? Eventually I found out that there was one language in particular that worked perfect. It was, every time I would do it, it was so spot. It wouldn't tell me like all this extra stuff. It would tell me what was going to happen that day. It would tell me what the weird thing during the day was going to be, something that would get my attention. And it worked multiple days in a row, very specifically. That was my language. I will actually put it in the description if I can find it. It was a PDF and it was brilliant. What you need to do is find your language. Find the language that works for you because you are trying to communicate with the being in your deck and you need to be able to go back and forth, right? After I had found the language, now came the really hard part because like I said, I really don't have a memory and it's extremely difficult for me to memorize stuff like that. So I started writing stuff down. I had my language and I would write out longhand all 52 cards. But the way that I would break it up that didn't make it feel so terrible is I would do it while I was running drills. I would like throw 2 cards and make a story with the 2 cards. Well, if I didn't know one of the cards, I would add it to my list and I would write out the definition from the PDF that I had. And I went down and I would do all 52 cards and I just keep running them and running them and running them until I had all 52 definitions written out. Then I did that again. Then from there, I started creating a cheat sheet. So I would be running drills, I would be doing whatever, and then when I would come to a card that I didn't know what it was, I would write shorthand in my little notes on my phone. A lot of people, when they use playing cards, they have these really extreme spreads. Like I am not a Russian gypsy, and I don't know why I need 30 cards to figure out if your girlfriend's cheating on you. I can do it in 2, but if you're interested in that, there are sources that you can go and look into about the big, I think they're called Russian stars. They're real extreme. I haven't found any need to do them. With playing cards, I can throw them down and I get what I need out of it. A lot of people like spreads. I would ask that you just try out something that I did because I had been told spreads are stupid, don't ever do spreads. I was talking to my deck one day and I was, what's going to happen next Tuesday? What's going to happen with this situation? And that came up in my mind. And I figured I would just ask the expert, like, what do you think about spreads? And it was literally just hate and fire. It was about feeling like being trapped and being, So I would just urge you, if you're dealing with a new deck, you're trying to start with playing cards, just ask the playing cards what they think about it, because your deck will give you back the information that it feels, right? So you've gone through, you've picked your language, you've memorized your language through writing and practice. A couple times a day you're practicing, right? After you've built the relationship, you want to try your best to forget most of those definitions. I know it sounds stupid, but there is nothing that has stuck me more in my life than being locked into definitions. That was when I was doing a lot of Purple Ocean readings. I will tell you that it was like every reading was the same handful of cards, because most of them were love readings. That's what I was specializing in on Purple Ocean. And I would get the same 4 cards like every single time, and that was all I could get. I could only get the same information every time, because when you're doing a bunch of readings in the day and they're all about the same thing, I had locked into definitions that I was having a hard time breaking out of. That was one of the reasons that I started doing these. So I just will say, please be careful not to get stuck in the definitions, because you can get so much information out of these cards. Yes, if you have a pip card, like, you don't have all kinds of fluttery pictures and interesting visual stuff on there, but trust me, you can pull a lot of information out of a very boring looking card. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching this. I hope that it was helpful. I know that I'm no expert, but I did teach myself to read these things rather quickly and very effectively. If you did find this helpful, then please, down there, press all the buttons, hit the subscribe, hit the notification, hit the like. That's the only way that I'm going to know that you guys want to see more content like this. If you guys want to get a live reading, an I Ching reading, a Tibetan Astrology Report, you can DM me on Instagram, or you can hit me up on Facebook. Both are Bear.Of.Wands. I really hope to hear from you. Again, thank you. Say your mantra, take your vitamins, and stay grateful, y'all.